So this is going to be a segmented video, but before I actually get on to that, I wanted to talk about the fact that I kind of missed the past two updates. Well, the first one made sense because it was the vacation update, so there wasn't really anything to expect because, I mean, hey, they came in from a vacation, you know. The second one was a small update. I'd still hope they'd fix something in the small update, but, I mean, eh, nothing much. But now I have something that, personally, I like to really talk about, and also they finally fixed the Mustang GTD's engine, so now I can use that in Fortnite. Very cool. Little pause there, but now I get to talk about, well, the Chapter 5 variants, the originators of the ballistic variants. So, as you can see, the walking animation has returned, the recoil animation has returned, and now the reload animation has returned. Which, fun fact, by the way, it's slow for some reason, so you can shoot before they actually finish. So that's kind of funny. But on top of that, you can also notice you can see the little bit of the stock's attachment point because they fixed the view model. So that's very cool. And that's a thing that you'll see for a lot of these, although some of them have it weirder than others. So this is the Nemesis AR, which already had its animation, so I won't show it again, but you know, it has a weird view model. It's a bit lower to the ground. Uh, Pretty interesting, to say the least. The shotgun is also low to the ground, and it has its animations back. That's very cool. I think I think the recoil animations are still a Chapter 5 one, because I believe the ballistic one, hits really hard. So, I don't know. This modular sniper rifle, which, by the way, should be called the modular Reaper sniper rifle. I don't know why it's the only one that has, the actual name before it, and then it says modular. It's really weird, and it kind of bugs me, because it kind of ruins the consistency of it all. But either way, it has all of its animations back. It's also weirdly view modeled. The pistol, on the other hand, while it is kind of weird, if they just adjust it a little bit up, I'd feel it's fine. And also, you kind of hold the pistol way too close up to your face. I kind of want to compare this to the ballistic version, but I'll do that later. And now for the only weapon that doesn't have all of its animations back, you can see it kind of starts to try to walk. It has the recoil animations, but yeah, unfortunately it does not have the reload animation. It's very interesting. But the Vector, on the other hand, the Thunderburst, it's actually pretty good. It's another one of the better ones, like the Striker, for example. And then the last two weapons are also... This one is carried way low, and this one is carried a little bit low. I don't know why, but, I mean, it's whatever. You know, at least you can actually use the iron sights now. Because I think... No, it wasn't busted. I'm thinking of something else. But, ignoring what I just said about the iron sights, yeah, hopefully they fix the view model just a little bit more for all the weapons that have it busted. But, they actually finally did stuff to these weapons after they were broken for like 3 updates, I think, because they were broken in one update, didn't get fixed in the other two. And also, they didn't add the sprint animation, but the camera shake is back at the very least. So hopefully they do reverse engineer the sprint animations. So that's it for this part of the video. So this is the other part, which I'm going to include the comparison to the pistols too. But this is about stuff that's still broken, and one thing that is fixed. And the one thing that is fixed is, well, when you aimed in with the drum gun, the ballistic version, your hand kind of glitches, it glitched a lot worse. So it's close to being better now, but it's still like broken. I think they like made it better because your hand is at least on the fore end rather than just raised high in the sky. But now everything else is stuff that's just broken. So the burst AR is more broken. I don't know when the update was because I tried to talk about it millions of times, but just had no motivation in making the video. But either way, now I do. And there's no like aim in sound effect like there usually is. So that's missing. The initial shot is always going to be broken, whether you shoot first or wait after it then. And then the preceding shots are still the Chapter 5 version, much like the shells are still the Chapter 5 version, and also still only eject 2 casings rather than 3. So that's a bit unfortunante. And also, it carries wraps weird, which I should have pointed out in its initial release, because I think this has been a bug, but I don't think no one else has pointed it out. So now I have to be the one to point it out, just in case if somehow my videos are being watched by Epic employees, of course. And also, this is still broken, because it's still based on the sovereign shotgun, you know? Now, everything else will be for first person. I can pretty much drop this, because this is now broken, so I'll never use for now. The Evo Chrome shotgun is still busted. It's very interesting because they did fix like the higher rarities, but the lower rarities still need to be fixed because I guess they're technically separate guns. So this is probably the only time where rarities actually have a difference because I only just now realized that the model does change. So technically every gun with a model change is technically a separate gun, whether it's the same or not. So this is going to only involve looking down. So everything is fine, but when I reload, my legs go stiff mode. Same for the machine pistol, except for when you pull it out, it also does. So, yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. So, I mean, it's not like you're really gonna see it. The only reason why I know is because I so happen to be looking down while reloading this weapon, and then same time with this weapon. So, yeah. Now for the comparison really quick. So, those are like equip animation. So hopefully they reverse engineer that at some point. But as you can see, you aim in the pistol a lot closer when you have the Chapter 5 version, which kind of sucks because I think they fixed this, but now they had to add it back, I think, for whatever reason. You do hold it a lot closer on the ballistic version, which I don't necessarily mind, but I don't know, I kind of like this, but for the sake of my, obsession for having things be the exact same 100%, hopefully they do make it look like the ballistic version. But for now, it's definitely a lot better than it was initially. And also, your character like tilts the gun when you crouch. It's a very subtle little detail, but it does kind of give you a little bit of immersion, even if this isn't really realistic for some reason. Like, I don't know why they tilt the weapon, because your arms don't just tilt when you crouch, but yeah. So, that's it for this part of the video. Now onto the probably most longer part. So this part of the video is probably going to be slightly longer, but I still want to at least try to rapid fire this little rant, because before I get onto it, I want to talk about the fact that the hand cannon, the striker burst, the sovereign shotgun, and the drum gun don't have reverse engineering animations. While it makes sense that the striker burst doesn't have the animations, the other ones need little to no modifications to actually take the animations. Because the drum gun, all you need to do is just make the hand not grab a foregrip. For the sovereign shotgun, you need to make the hand adjust to a shell rather than a rifle cartridge, and the hand cannon needs nothing. It needs absolutely nothing. So yeah, but let's actually talk on to this point of the video. We've been a year and a half for the Chapter 5 view model attachment system that they still use today, even though mods are unfortunately not in the game anymore. And you notice something off about this gun? Well, that's the fact that the optic doesn't carry over the aesthetic of the exotic. Those are the iron sights, or at least the clip of the extra shell don't. So, yeah, a year and a half, and they decide not to color some optics for some reason, or at least just attachments in general. They have done it technically with this gun because the magazine is proprietary and unique, but that's what makes it easy for them because the collateral damage AR uses a unique, proprietary magazine, and the Falcon Eye does as well, even though it's, funnily enough, the retextured version of the modular sniper magazine. But what makes it weird is that the Slap Twin Fire auto shotgun does not have the magazine match the aesthetic, which is very interesting considering it's fully unique to the gun. So, yeah. And on top of that, two guns already do what I'm talking about. And funnily enough, one of them was added to this update. The Gill's Eye drum gun and the Midas modular drum gun. So, yeah, they show that the gun can at least fully take the aesthetics of the gun, especially if it's not, modular anymore, because even though this says modular, you can't actually add attachments or take away attachments from the gun. But either way, this gun and this gun both show that they can definitely do it, because especially the optic on this gun. This gun has a gold optic. Same with this gun, which by the way, it's the worst optic in the world. I haven't mentioned it already. It has a proprietary drum mag, and of course, this one doesn't have a compensator, but technically doesn't because the base muzzle device is a compensator. That's like attached to the gun permanently. Even if I think it does get removed if you add attachments, it's still, part of the gun, like, by default. So, yeah. Like, the foregrip and all that jazz is, gold. It matches the aesthetic. So it's just weird, A year and a half we've been at this system, and for the season that I say would actually make sense for us to actually get, attachments, at least, taking wraps for the base guns, had this gun. So they already knew that they could do this. But we're well into chapter 6, and this gun is missing an aesthetic on at least one attachment because the magazine itself is unique, as said. So that's kind of way easier for them to actually make, even if the attachment itself is still technically considered a attachment, as in chapter 5 wise. So, yeah, you could argue that for season 1 at the very least, or season 2 as well, they'd like visual clarity, but season 2 removed the P2X so you couldn't get confused with the red dot. That's not the reason. They removed it to add this attachment, the worst optic in the world. But what I'm saying is that the one that could have been confused was the one that was already removed well into season 2 of that chapter. So we wouldn't need visual clarity anymore. We'd only need it for season 1, which also was because that they were handling in new to mods. Even though Call of Duty has, they've been doing it. So Call of Duty can do it with tens of millions of guns, with tens of millions of attachments, some proprietary, with mastercraft and blueprints that handle camos differently. There are many different camos. Fortnite couldn't do it with a handful of attachments because all they had was like 5 magazine types, and only like a few of them were unique to the gun. Because later on, they would of course use some of those for other weapons. Like the pistol was used for the hand cannon, the sniper was used for the boom bolt, the Frenziato shotgun, well, it has mostly unique magazines, but I consider the Gatekeeper shotgun having at least a modified version of those attachments, even if they're very small only. But either way, though, a lot of these weapons had like shared attachments, so few little proprietary attachments like this drum gun and the Frenziato shotgun's drum mag have, proprietary attachments. Because the stick mag and the like the quick eject mag, both were shared for the Monarch pistol, I believe. So, yeah. Even the ballistic weapons, because you can't mod them, they could at least, make these carry over the wrap aesthetic to the attachments. Just the secondary wrap. That's all I'm asking. The secondary color for the wrap. Because I like to see, when I'm rocking the copper sting wrap, I like to see my optics be gold while my gun's blue and all that jazz, you know? So, yeah, we've been a year and a half, and attachments still don't ever take over the aesthetic of wraps or the exotic, at least one to one all the time, because this does take the magazine, the magazine does take the aesthetic and so forth. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. Hopefully they, do something about it rather than just keeping the iron sights and all that jazz that they add for weapons that no longer have modularity, just removed of all the aesthetics, especially because they've done it for season 2 and ironically season 2 of chapter 6. Well, not ironically, but still, funnily enough, both season 2s of both chapters have the Midas drum gun, and they both show that they can definitely make all the attachments and the optic, especially, carry over the aesthetic of the gun that it's supposed to be forced on. Even Midas's touch doesn't work on the attachments. So, yeah. Especially since they're not going to bring back the Chapter 5 weapons, at least the base ones. They can at least do it for the ballistic ones. So, that's about it for this part of the video. And so, now on to the last and smaller part of this video. And before I actually talk about something again, I wanted to mention that they do care about the small details still, because the Ballistic Enforcer now has the older third-person animations from the original Chapter 5 Enforcer, which they had to remove a whole entire new animation for to actually get it to work, and they even had to speed up the animation a little bit to actually, make it work with the Ballistic version. So I just want to mention how very appreciative I am of that, because that's a small detail that kind of bugged me that I noticed, and they actually did fix. And now that they did fix it, I don't have to be bugged by it anymore. So I'm very appreciative of that. But now I'm going to talk about something that still does bug me, and I hope they do fix very much because, well, two things actually. And one of them is FedEx's kicks compatibility. While it is a lot better than it was initially, it can definitely still be better because Volpez has, better kicks compatibility. As I should say, the shoes should adjust to the wearer, not the wearer adjusting to the shoes. The only time that the wearer should adjust to the shoes is when the character has boots. And that would take them a lot of extra modeling to actually replace those boots with shoes because they'd have to, adjust the legs. But all they could do really is just lengthen the actual legs themselves, which would kind of look weird, but they could just extend like the shin a little bit so like the lower end of the pants actually match with the shoes and cover up the rest of the boots. They could do that rather than just deleting and adding new models, but either way, the shoes should adjust to the wearer, not vice versa, because they don't look good when they adjust the wearer for the shoes. And they want us to buy these shoes, right? You know, despite them being $10, still overpriced for such a small cosmetic that only looks good on a handful of skins that you also, again, have to buy, you know? So it's just weird to me that they don't make it look perfect as is, because that's how it should work. The second thing is, well, more just to Volpez and Fenix, and that's the teeth rigging is still messed up from the port over from UE4 to UE5. So, yeah, that still sucks and still is a bug. There's still a lot of issues from like older emotes and stuff that have not been fixed since that port that have still been broken, like the rock on emote where the guitar is pushed like an inch backwards so your thumb clips to the neck of the guitar and you're not strumming it at all. But, you know, I feel like those are features at this point, which is kind of unfortunate. Maybe they'll get around to fixing it because this is a live service game. And the third thing I'd like to add, since I've mentioned Volpez, is that the tail physics are still not proper, and of course the back bling is still bigger, but the back bling is a non-issue. It's still something that bugs me, but I more care about them fixing the tail physics, the teeth rigging, and Fenix's kicks compatibility, because that's the only thing that Volpez doesn't share, because Volpez has its superior. So, yeah. And before I get on to another thing, General Grievous doesn't have kick compatibility still, and I feel like he very well should. It would take a lot of modification, and it's probably mostly on Disney's part, but if Darth Vader can rock J's, then Grievous should be able to rock J's, because, again, they really want us to buy these kicks. They want us to buy every single cosmetic in the world, so they should have more things that entice us to buy those kicks. Because some people would rock Grievous because he's a fan favorite Star Wars character, and anyone who loves Star Wars and plays Fortnite and loves Grievous would rock Grievous a lot. And if they want to put him in J's or Crocs and make it be funny, they can't do that because he doesn't have Kicks compatibility. So hopefully they eventually do that for Grievous, much like they should fix some of the skins in general. So yeah, and now to end off the video, I'd like to finally mention that the Chevy Corvette is in the game also after an entire year of just being previously leaked. So that's very cool. And it's also free. So go ahead and get it now. So I suggest doing Rocket League because you can do it alone in Rocket League. But if you don't want to play, a niche game, grab a buddy or I think split screen can work and just rock out creative and epic made islands for XP. So, yeah, I recommend Phantom Investigation because it does give you a lot of XP and is actually fun to do, so you don't have to AFK grind. It took me like 3 matches in order to actually get this. So, yeah, go ahead. It's free, and they finally added it. And this is one step closer to them adding a Chimera Z28 IROC body into Fortnite. So, and also a Chevy Tahoe. So, yeah, I made this part a little bit longer than it should be, but that's the end.